We've been talking about this since.
We are live. All right, we'll hang out every Thursday, 8 o'clock Pacific. Paulie Howard, Teddy covers the show with Sports Bet, Betting Insight today, Monday through Friday. We'll take all your questions, rapid fire. Let's go. NBA, MLB, Masters, round one completed. Hoffman was the man, 7 under so far. And we'll get to it's the final Friday of the regular season, Teddy, in the association.
Yeah, dude, this slog of an 82-game season is finally getting near the end. Of course, all that means that we got 2 more months, sometimes 2.5 more months of postseason basketball to talk about.
Yeah.
But I mean, this last week in the NBA, it's hard. It's hard. I look for opportunities every night. Don't know that I'm going to find a whole lot. If I find 3 or 4 good plays between now and the end of the regular season, I'll be very happy. All
right, let's go. Good game to start. We'll talk about this on tomorrow's show. Miami and Toronto. Raptors 5, 206.5 at home. Miami now need to win all these games, as Indiana won earlier tonight.
Yeah, and Atlanta as well. So, the teams that were at the bottom of the end, the Heat obviously up against it schedule-wise. Yeah. My number's 3.5 for what it's worth. I think, but it's not an auto bet on Miami for me, but that's the way I would look. I would definitely look towards the Heat plus the points, even though, the Dion Waiters injury is really tough for them right now.
They play, they got a home and home coming up. Cleveland is 10, 2-14 against Atlanta. I imagine they sit Millsap tomorrow.
Yeah, my number's only 8.5. The Hawks came out and shot lights out against the Celtics tonight, unfortunately, much to my chagrin. But they have 71 by halftime in that ball game. Of course, Cleveland shot lights out against Boston the night before. Second night of back-to-back late in the season. My number's a little bit shorter than the markets, but the only way I would look at this one's towards the favorite. I'm not an Atlanta Hawks fan right now, and the Hawks have had all kinds of problems with this Cavs squad.
All right, now this one will be fun. Detroit has quit, and
the Rockets haven't quit.
They're not going to the playoffs. They've been horrible.
Yeah, but they're fighting in every game and finding ways to lose.
The last couple of games before that, they were a joke. Houston is 12.5 at home. 223.5 the total. Wow.
Well, Paula, you said the other night that Rockets minus 8.5 against Denver was the worst NBA line you saw all year.
Yes.
Now they're laying 12.5.
Well, Denver needed the game.
Yeah.
And Denver also played them the week before, and they led by 1 with 5 seconds left, and Harden laid it in. So Houston doesn't have anything to play for, which their goal now is to get everyone healthy. Anderson's supposed to be back for this one finally with the sprained ankle, but with Detroit, I don't know. New York and Memphis.
A little bit shorter, 11.5.
Oh, sorry. New York and Memphis, no line. Looks like Porzingis is shut down for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I got Memphis 8. The Knicks, the Knicks have played better since they went to the youth movement, and a lot of teams do that. Phoenix not so much, but the Knicks, from a point spread perspective, have been a better team the last 2 weeks, and they've been any stage in the majority of the season. And Memphis, Memphis is supposed to be able to name the score in that game. I don't trust Memphis to do a whole lot right now. I really don't.
Yep. San Antonio 2.5, 190.5 at Dallas.
No idea what Pop is doing. This is a really hard game. Even if you know what the lineups are going to be, it'd be hard to bet this game just because we saw like the other day, San Antonio, we're playing our starters. We're playing for 12 minutes, 14 minutes. It's Spurs games in particular are going to be tough to get involved with.
The screen is showing no Aldridge or no Kawhi.
Okay.
But who knows? Minnesota and Utah, no line. T-Wolves are playing right now.
My number's Utah 10. And I think that might be a little bit short. I think we'll see how the game plays out tonight. But if it ends up being a tight game, it might be 10.5 or 11.
These teams just played. It was crazy. Denver 6.5, 229.5 at home against the Pels.
Yeah, 229.5. We saw 240 the other night. Which again, it got bet down. My number's a little bit shorter. My number's 4 in that ballgame for Denver. And after losing the way they did, where they had every chance in the world to beat Houston, and just Gallinari. Literally, he screwed up like 8 possessions in a row down the stretch where Gallinari turnover, Gallinari bad pass, Gallinari bad shot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't trust them psychologically enough to lay points with them against New Orleans.
Here's your Suns. OKC at Phoenix. Thunder 8, 226 the total. Suns have lost 13 in a row. Hey, Laker fans, this is how you tank.
Yeah. Well, they'll learn. Maybe they don't learn. with the 53% chance of losing that top 3 protected pick. My number is OKC 6.5 against Phoenix. And Phoenix, for tanking, for a team that's obviously in tank mode, they didn't play any defense. They've had their fair. They've covered. They haven't been losing every game ATS. They've covered their fair share of point spreads, including ones at home.
Yeah, Kings have been feisty. They're playing the Lakers no line. Who knows what Walton does? Walton pulled everybody after the first quarter. They still won. That's our first question here from Tripp, loyal viewer, and we met him out at the South Point. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, Laker fans got to be losing their minds. As you mentioned, it's now a 53% chance they lose the pick. Lakers keep winning these games.
Tripp, let's shout out to Tripp because Tripp's been awesome. Tripp's tweeting us all the time. He's around town in Vegas giving us, passing along information that is helpful. He's a guy who we can retweet and know that he's giving out accurate info. So thanks, Tripp, and I appreciate all your comments, and I appreciate you being such a good friend to the show. Both Paulie and I really do here at SportsBit. That being said, again, you call me conspiracy theorist. You say I'm wearing a tinfoil hat. Somehow I just get the hunch the Lakers are going to get that top 3 pick. I don't want any part of LA tomorrow night after they won one they weren't supposed to, as you mentioned. Sacramento, about once a week or so, once every 10 days, they play a feisty game. And certainly at Staples is the type of place they could do it. My number has this one priced, I think, at LA -0.5, which means I'm, comfortable with a pick 'em or a -1.
What are you wearing?
Me?
Yeah.
It's Masters Day. What am I wearing? And it's funny because I was asking you before I went on air. I said, "Can I wear this jacket on air?" And you guys are like, "Yeah, it's no problem."
I didn't even look. All right. Tripp again checking in. I'm with you, Tripp. Do you believe DJ's story? Something feels fishy here with a fall down some stairs. Yeah, I know he said he had his socks on. There was only 3 stairs. And the guy, what a mess for bookmakers, too. And, hey, better beware. Some places you lost, other places was a refund.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Something that will be discussed thoroughly on SportsBit tomorrow. If you want a discussion on what books are doing the right thing and what books not so much, let's list them out. All we can do is list them. I mean, let's do it. It's not our place to it is our place to editorialize. I'll say that for the show. These are the books that the bet is off if the golfer doesn't play. Westgate, the Superbook, no surprise there. South Point, no surprise there. Wynn, Golden Nugget, Stations, pleasant surprise. It is because the Stations isn't known as being one of the more player-friendly places in town. But to see, again, Westgate and South Point on that list, no surprise whatsoever. Now, we saw others. MGM, Boyd, Caesars, CG, which surprised me, Canner, and William Hill said, action is action, and we will not refund bets. And again, that's in their rules. Whether it's the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do, we know what the right thing to do is. Who you point?
Same thing goes for Tiger Woods, too.
In terms of what?
A lot of people bet Tiger Woods, too.
Right. And then they lose their money then, yeah.
And depends also when you bet it. Right.
Yeah. But it's, I mean, it really comes down to the fine print. We don't talk about the fine print a lot. It's worth looking at every now and again. Some books will say in the fine print, all bets are action, all bets are final. Other books will say golfer must attempt a shot, take a shot, tee off, whatever the terminology they use, or bets will be refunded. In this instance, obviously, having the bets refunded is the right thing to do, whether or not books did it.
Man, imagine if he hits a tee shot on number 1, and then he says, "Okay, that's it." He calls it quits. Oh,
well, there's no debate. It's not like you can grade it in 2 different ways.
That's happened before.
Exactly, and then there's he teed off, and if you bet on DJ, you lose. So be it. But in this instance, where different books are handling it different ways, when we're talking about, hey, let's normalize sports betting, let's mainstream it, let's legalize it, et cetera, et cetera. These are not good things. These are not the type of PR that the sports betting industry needs. So, and we're not talking about huge dollar amounts here either. We're just talking about books trying to put a little bit of extra money in their pockets.
All right. Let's go. Whatever. Here we are.
Let's go.
Every Thursday, 8 o'clock Pacific. Tony S. Teddy, how does the How big does a difference have to be between your number and the line for you to auto bet?
I rarely auto bet based on my numbers alone. So there are definitely people that'll say there's a 2.5 point difference or a 3 point difference, fire away immediately. I'm not that guy. And it's not because I don't trust my numbers. It's because when I see a significant differential, I want to know, is this because I'm powering these teams differently than the markets are, or is there another factor that I'm worried about or that I should be concerned about? And then it's a kind of reading the tea leaves. So when you say auto bet, I auto bet very little. Sometimes when I'm riding a team, betting on them or against them, or riding one of the streaks, total streaks in baseball, I'll auto bet those day after day. But when it comes to actually handicapping and looking at the numbers and saying, is this a play or not a play, I don't have a specific number that says if it's my line's 2.5 or 3 points off, that's a must, an automatic wager. It's just as I build a case, that's one step in the case.
Rob Job 19. Can you blind bet playoff games under? Last year was a big winner. How was it in the past years? That I don't know. People always say that the games slow down and it becomes more of a half court. I wouldn't say with these teams. Everyone's pace and space now. I will give you one myth, and Teddy will speak to this, which is the zigzag theory.
Okay. Well, I mean, let's do the basic. Can you auto bet unders in the postseason? No, and not expect profitability. If it worked last year, you'll see the numbers adjusted down. This year, the markets will react. And when you talk about year in, year out, if you start talking about something that's hit 60% over a 10-year span, people are going to notice that. Over a 5-year span, people are going to notice that. 1 year, not likely to move the markets. And I'm with you conceptually, Paulie, when it comes to the NBA in the postseason this year is different from what it was 5 years ago. And there's a whole lot of teams that have made their success bed offensively as opposed to defensively. The zigzag theory, I mean, are we ready to start ripping the zigzag theory again? It's that time, isn't it? They're still going to be talking about it. Unbelievable. It's like the Monday Night Football home dogs. Yes, there was a profit to be made betting the NBA zigzags in the 1990s. Okay? In the 1990s. Just like there was money made Monday Night Football home dogs in the 1990s. And you look at a 30-year sample size. Yeah, look, zigzag theory. I went back, and it's been a few years now that I went back and did this. It showed that if you blindly bet the zigzag, you haven't made a profit in a decade. And that's just, when I did that study, it had to be 2 or 3 years ago at least, maybe more. I know it hasn't worked the last couple of years any better. It's a 50-50 proposition. It's priced into the number. Of course, zigzag theory is, for those of you who don't know, that means you're betting on the straight-up loser of the previous game in a series, expecting them to bounce back strong.
Okay. Trip again checking in. What do you think of Golden State minus 160 against the field? And when Durant comes back Saturday, is there anyone who can beat the Warriors in a 7-game series?
I think Houston has the potential to beat the Warriors in a 7-game series in the West. I don't think San Antonio can.
No.
I don't know. Can anybody? I mean, no. The answer is so there's Houston has a potential to give this Warriors some trouble
because they shoot 53s a game.
Sure, and they're a good team. I mean, this Rockets team, they're better defensively than people give them credit for. They're bigger in the low post than people give them credit for. And Harden's a very impressive facilitator, obviously, for that squad. And then Golden State, they'll be prohibitive favorites against whoever they face in the East. And are they injury proof? What happens if Curry goes down? The Warriors get beat? Do they still come out of the West? They're much more injury proof than the other elite teams. But minus 160, minus 160 against the field against a team that has to win 4 playoff series. It's just not the type of bet that I tend to make. So I wouldn't talk you out of it. And just talking it out right here, it's a bet. I mean, it makes sense, but I'd really have to sit down and do the math to figure out what they're going to be on the money line in each series and making a guesstimate to see if that 160 actually is a good number or not. But it's not a bet that I'm particularly interested. But again, I don't make I don't make every good bet. I wish I did. You're allowed to make bets even if I don't. Obviously, that's kind of.
What do you do with baseball? A couple of questions. Do you bet first inning or first 5 innings? Do you bet one baseball game in different ways often? A couple of questions there on baseball.
Okay.
Some people, this is very good. I would recommend first 5 if you got a shaky bullpen.
Sure, but I mean, for me, my whole baseball strategy is to look for shaky bullpens and bet against them. That's my whole MO in baseball. I'm not a guy that's going to spend 8 hours every night after the games are done and researching these pitchers and trying to find these, tiny little edges that are factored into the number. That's not what works for me. What works for me is betting against bad bullpens, betting on hot lineups. And in my mind, those are the factors that are undervalued. But when it comes to those particular questions, do I ever make multiple bets in the same game? Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll bet a first 5 over and a full game over. On the regular basis, though, that's that. Usually, if I'm betting our game on the run line, I'll make the decision. I'm going to make my wager -1.5 or +1.5, as opposed to betting it straight up and trying to split my wager between the two. That's just what's worked for me.
All right.
Did I answer? I mean, I don't know. Did I?
It was fine.
Tell me if I didn't answer it right, and I'll answer it again.
No.
Vitalis. I just wanted to, Teddy, you always tell us to examine all of our losses. Last night, the Seattle Mariners lost in 13 innings. I like to think I was on the right side, but I wasn't. Who do I blame for that loss? Blame the Mariners.
And the bullpen.
I mean, if you want to grow as a handicapper, the concept is very real. At the end of the day, you don't want to necessarily do it right after the games are done, but the next day, you go back and you re-handicap the games after the fact, and you learn from your mistakes. You're not going to be perfect. No one's going to be perfect. It's always a learning process, all right? If you just go, well, that's gone, and I'm not going to worry about it, and let's move on to the next thing. No, you can gain stuff from wins and losses if you're able to process that information effectively. But to say I'm automatically going to, I lost for the Seattle, who can I blame? There will be coin flips that you lose all the time. And, my old buddy Sean Hess used to tell a story where I think what he say, he claims 26 straight losses in extra innings. I don't know if that's true or not, but sometimes the extra inning games will swing in your favor and sometimes they won't. And I swear, I know he's claiming 26 straight losses in extra innings one season, which again, could happen. Just takes a lot of coin flips going against you, obviously, in those situations.
Portland down double digits at home already in the second quarter. Rob job 19.
What are we saying? The Nurkic injury is huge for that team, and it is.
Yep. Texas bullpen looking rough, no kidding. And also Rob job Indians real deal. I mean, I know if they won 94 last year and their win total is 94 this year, you get Encarnacion and Brantley back and you get a full year of Miller, Sean, Allen. My God, they're going to wrap that up division early.
I mean, Cleveland
wrap that division up early, barring a big injury.
Yeah, I mean, Vino had a giant Woody about the Cleveland Indians.
Their bullpen?
The whole team.
Sure.
Like the lineup's great. The bullpen's great. The staff is great. This is the best team in base. He's like the Cubs, forget it. Watch out for Cleveland.
Yep. Denver scored.
Was that the one you were reading? Sports App Balls, who asked if I bet one baseball game in different ways often?
Yes, I asked that. Yep. Denver just scored, by the way. 3-0 Denver in the Frozen Four. Second period against Notre Dame. The winner plays Minnesota Duluth in the championship game.
You didn't read the rest of it, though. It goes, you guys do a great job, and I appreciate all the info you guys deliver on a daily basis. Thank you. Thank you, Sports Out Balls. We appreciate that. We're trying, man. This is not a show that comes together in 5 minutes. We do it half-assed. It's a ton of work every day, but I genuinely believe this show is going to go somewhere, and as sports betting becomes more and more mainstream, we have an opportunity to create a really good brand and a really good audience. So, again, thank you for watching on a daily basis. If you watch once a week, thanks for watching once a week. The only thing we ask, tell your friends. Please share the word about SportsBet every day on SBR Sports Picks. And, of course, you can find us on YouTube. All right.
BMOC. Yeah, Royals have been terrible. BMOC's right. Bullpen's been horrible. They got swept by the Twins. Think about that to start. And D. Lee, does anyone play the Grand Salami? Fezzik recommends that. I don't usually do that. Fezzik plays the Grand Salami. Total runs scored every day.
I have bet the Grand Salami. It's one of those days when you're going down the card and you're like, boy, I kind of lean this game over. And, I like this game over. And, this is an over matchup. And you get a whole bunch of those and not so many games. You're like, this looks like an under. Those are definitely days that I'll look to bet some Grand Salamis over. And vice versa, obviously, looking at the game and like, oh, I don't know, where's the run's going to come here? Oh, there's no runs in this one, et cetera, et cetera. It's just, I don't bet it every day by any stretch of the imagination. If I find one grand slam, if I make one grand slam bet a month, that's probably a decent average. But every once in a while, you see a bunch of games on the next day's card. You say, I like the overs here, I like the unders here, and you make a grand salami wager to get action on all of those in one fell swoop.
Give Sports Have Balls the 5 worst bullpens. Did Vino go over that?
Yeah, 5. 5 worst, but geez, I got to think about. I got to get my notes on that because I don't have it off the top of my head.
Same as
we hated the Braves. The Braves bullpen looks really bad. The Rangers bullpen's obviously gotten off to a rough start. The Giants bullpen's gotten off to a rough start. The Padres bullpen is the worst bullpen of any of them. So Atlanta and San Diego certainly stand out as really, really bad bullpens. Anyone else stand out to you, Paulie, right off the bat? But again, we're just 3 days into the season, and for me to hit my stride in baseball, it's going to be 3 weeks, not 3 days. That's when you really get a sense of, hey, these teams really can't get anyone out in the 8th and 9th innings, and these teams, wow, they can get hits with the game on the line, and that's the 2 factors that I'm looking for as much as any.
All right, thanks, guys. Teddy is playing hurt, so we'll call this one early, and we'll be back right here every Thursday, Google Hangout, 8 o'clock Pacific. And check out the show every day. It really gets fun. You're gonna want to see the NBA preview next week. That's a must see. We go through all these series. We run down history, upset picks potentially. NBA preview coming up next week, as well as the association wraps up on Wednesday. And check us out every day. Sports Bet, betting insight today.